So hello, thank you all for coming today. My name is Colleen Doonan. I am a designer here at Markforged with the brand creative team. I'm very excited to present to you guys our new partner toolkit, which we at the brand creative team hope will be a helpful tool in any marketing or creative assets you make for or with Markforged products in the future. I'm also super excited to be presenting this toolkit in our new HQ, 60 Tower, which is very exciting. We have a lot going on at Markforged right now, and we're so excited to share this journey with you guys. I also will be posting in the chat a link to the partner toolkit that's on Showpad, so feel free to follow along. I'm also sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it. But yeah, this is something that you guys can use. It'll be available on Showpad. And feel free to type any questions in the chat. So designers are pretty familiar with brand guidelines, which usually come in big documents like this and have all of the specific design jargon a designer needs to successfully be able to execute any brand that they might be. Okay, it's working. Thought I was muted for a second. To execute any kind of creative deliverables or design deliverables that may be. Some of you guys might be familiar with this. You might be from a marketing or a design background, but we also understand that a lot of people who do marketing may not be. And those kind of documents aren't always helpful for everyday use because they have a lot of very specific jargon that might not be understood. So we hope that this toolkit, which is a little bit more streamlined for anyone to use, can still help you successfully execute all of those deliverables for the Markforged brand, but it doesn't include any of that kind of unnecessary information. So I understand that this is a pretty expensive document, which might be a little bit daunting, but the goal for this document is to kind of be a one-stop shop for any and all marketed relating questions you have about deliverables and things like that. So this table of contents is just to help you quickly navigate to the section that you need. And hopefully you can get your answer there. You may not use every single piece of this document, and that's kind of okay. So across all partners, here we go. This is how we're kind of designing today. A lot of great advertisements and social posts here. You might recognize your own perhaps, but they all have very distinct voice. And we'd love for Markforged to become a brand name someday, but we aren't quite there yet. So brand recognition is very key for us right now as a company. Which brings me to the future. Each of these advertisements kind of have their own unique feel, but a lot of them have the overarching Markforged voice. And we feel like if we can get to this level of brand execution, we're going to be on a great path to reaching new audiences and showing them the awesome products that we're building today. As some of you may know, we've recently updated our mission and vision. So if you're looking for the specific wording on that, if you're doing any deliverables that kind of use that, you can find it right here. Logos. So here are our logos and all of their variety and glory. We ask when possible that you use our main one on the far left, but we have detailed specific instances here where you can use the middle and the right one. But when in doubt, using the left one is definitely the best way to go. As some of our older partners may remember, we did go through a brand refresh a few years back. And so it's important for us to be using the newest version of our logo. This happens all the time. We actually moved in here and our landlord had this big, nice welcoming sign that had our old logo on it. So it does happen quite a lot. And so we just want to make sure that the newest one is being used when we can. You can see the differences on here. We've kind of outlined where they are, but the biggest indicator to anyone looking is the G. So if you see that kind of older style G, you know that it's the outdated logo, and the newer logo has a more sans serif G. Logo usage. This might seem a bit excessive, but I promise that it's the little things that make up a brand identity. So in general, when in doubt, black or white logo is the best way to go, having it at the proper scale. And not doing things like outlines or adding gradients to it, things like that. It probably seems like common sense, but just in case. And clear space. This is a pretty niche designer thing that you might hear us talk about a lot, but it's also pretty important. Leaving room for our logo to breathe is important to us, and we'll get to that later on, but we typically will put it in the corner. So making sure that it's not riding up against the side of the page or a social post is very important. In general, designers use something called the X height to determine where they should leave space in a document, but also just using any lowercase letter. So you will see here, like the E would probably pretty comfortably fit into that square. But using your, general sense, if something feels like it's too close to the corner, it probably is. So just making sure you leave a little bit of breathing room for our logo when you're placing it and we're in the document. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Black and white logos are typically best for us. Again, this is kind of a common sense thing. If you feel like a white logo in yellow doesn't look very good, use the black one, or vice versa. Putting a black logo on a black background probably isn't going to work out very well for you. So, using common sense, making sure there's high contrast, and, using the right colored logo when applicable. Logo position. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. When possible, we're trying to put our logos in any four corners of the document. We'd like to move away from centering our logo if necessary. We understand that sometimes, for whatever reason, you do need to put the logo in the middle, whether if there's a photo that is going to be obstructing it, or whatever it is. But when possible, or you're using a solid color background, putting in the corner is the best way to design with our logo. And so this is pretty key for advertisements and social posts. But yeah, something cognizant that we're trying to really push right now with brand recognition. Typography. So we have lots of different typography, but the main font that we use is Replica. It's in our logo, and you can never go wrong with it. We use it all over the place for copy, for headers, but when writing long content like emails or like large document, we recommend Newhouse Unica Pro. But in general, Replica is the way to go, especially for short stuff like social posts. And all of this, we have purchase and licenses here, but we also will be providing it to you as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we do have all of this stuff, whether it's logos, typefaces, imagery. We will be providing you guys with all of that stuff so you can use it in your day-to-day. So Replica and Newhouse Unica Pro are not always available, especially on things like Google Slides and Google Docs, which we at Markforged use. And so when those aren't available for us to use when we're working in a particular program, these are the typefaces that we typically recommend. So Rubik is a Google font, I believe, and you can use that in the case of Replica. And then Helvetica New is a good substitute for Newhouse Unica Pro. So if you don't have anything, if you don't have Replica or Newhouse, you'll almost always have Helvetica, and then Rubik is a good Google font to use when you're designing in that way. So line height and tracking. This is, again, one of those kind of designer things that people might not always think about, and it seems a little bit nitty-gritty, but I promise you that it is important. Just going off of a general rule of thumb, don't track out our type or the space between sentences. Don't track that out as well. We like to have it nice and clumped together. We feel like that looks best when designing in Replica. And so like the left side is what we wouldn't want to do. The right side is. So typically when you're just typing something out, it'll be the line track of 0. That looks good. That's fine. Just don't track it out to like 100, which you'll see on the left here. Color palette. So our color palette's pretty iconic. It's pretty easy to recognize if you've worked with us before. The main colors are black, white, and manufacturing yellow. But we also have a variety of grays if you're trying to design and you need a little bit of contrast or something else other than the main 3 colors. We've included the hex codes and the CMYK values here for any printing. But for the most part, everyone knows the typical colors of black, white, and then yellow is pretty easy to copy. These are some examples of our primary colors and how to use it. In general, we say to use manufacturing yellow pretty sparsely. It is a very bright color, and so it doesn't always look good when it takes up a full page, but there are instances where we've used it before and you can as well. But sticking with black and white, you can never go wrong. And then if you need a splash of color, yellow works pretty well too. Color usage. Again, this is probably just kind of a general rule of thumb. You might have common sense on this, but not putting white on yellow or yellow on white, and then obviously not using colors that aren't included in our color palette. So doing blue with orange is not going to be very evocative of the Markforged brand. Black and white, white and black, and even gray. All of those look great. So, if you feel like something doesn't look right, it probably isn't. But you can never go wrong with using our color palette as long as there is some high contrast there. Co-branding. This is going to be super important, especially for partners. So this is how we co-brand our logo. Doesn't matter what order it's in. If you want to put your logo first, if you want to put your logo second, either way is totally fine. All we ask is you just separate it by a little bit of a black line right there. And then using the main Markforged logo. So we're not picky on the order. You can do as many brands as you want, just putting a little black line in between them to kind of separate the two. But this is how we'll brand all of our works with partners. If you follow our YouTube channel, you've probably seen it in the thumbnails. This is what we're trying to work towards. So we'd appreciate it if you guys did this when collaborating with us. Logo placement, again, like I said earlier, having it in the corner is definitely preferable. As you can see, this is a very long logo, and it's just Google Markforged. If you have 3 logos, it's going to be extremely long. So we understand that it doesn't always fit in the corner. If it extends out to the middle, that's totally fine as well. But when you can, if you're designing, trying to put it in the corner and then working around that definitely is preferable. But it's not the end of the world. We understand sometimes it doesn't completely work out. This is just something we're trying to work towards. Copywriting and tone of voice. So you probably all have your own tone of voice that you talk about your brand with, and we don't want to take over that at all. So just when you're talking specifically about us or writing about us on behalf of Markforged or our products, we just ask that you kind of keep it confident, factual, and playful. You'll notice a lot with some of the new copy we're putting out these days, it's very short and sweet. And we like it that way. We feel like that works best when talking about our products. We like for them to speak for themselves. So keeping these in mind when you're writing about Markforged or our products, but obviously talking in greater context when you're talking about your own brand, feel free to talk about it any way you want. This is just kind of how we talk about ourselves. And if you could talk about our products this way too, we'd really appreciate it. Social media. This is something I've been referencing a lot throughout this whole presentation. So we'll kind of go through how we approach it, how we'd like you to approach it, some tips and tricks. But it's a pretty big mode of communication in today's age. A lot of prospective customers might be looking at your social media, at our social media. So we take this pretty seriously. And we'll talk about some brands that we take inspiration from and our general approach. So some of our inspirations, Nat Geo, Nike, and Sonos are all brands that we learn from a lot. Sonos specifically, we love their typography. We like how they lay out their typography. And Nat Geo and Nike have really simplistic, heavy-hitting product photography. Like you'll see with the sneaker here, and we're trying to kind of emulate that with our product photography. We want it to be impactful but simple. So if you're ever looking for some inspiration, these are some great brands that you can look to. Static posts. So these are some static posts that we feel like we did really well. For example, we feel like the bottle opener and the copper part to the right are very simple but impactful pieces of photography. And we feel like here we've kind of nailed the typography here. So just winter printer is very simple, only typography, but we feel like that packs a punch as well as open to the public. So if you're looking for references from us from what we think we've done well on social posts, these are some pretty good examples. And then these are also video posts. So you might have seen our YouTube before. We also do some video on Instagram. So we feel like these are some good examples of video posts. Simple typography, impactful pieces of video. It's not overlapping. It's very simple and clean. We love simple and clean. But if you're doing any video work for us, I think these are some good examples as well. You can find all of these on Instagram. And these are some examples where we went wrong. We're definitely still growing as a company. The Brain Creative team is only 3 people, and our video team is 3 people as well. So we're a small knit group, but we try, but we're definitely always learning, and we don't get it right every time. So here's some examples where we've tracked out the type. Doesn't look great using non-brand fonts on the far left. Having a photo in the back and then overlaying it with typography, it's kind of hard to read and we don't really know what's going on there. Not the best work. And then putting our logo into type and kind of treating it as type and not a logo on the far right doesn't look great. So, sometimes we don't hit the mark. These are definitely examples to learn from. You'll probably see more on our Instagram and social, but we're always trying to grow and evolve. So we're definitely not perfect too. Social media content sharing. So I hope that this is going to be one of those pages that you can reference again and again. There will be another one of those that will definitely be important as well. So on the left, we have links to all of our social media channels. If you're not following us already, please feel free to give us a follow. A lot of good inspiration for what we're trying to do well these days, and also things to learn from on all of those social media channels. But if you want an example of the brand and the brand being executed, it's really great to go look over there. And then on the right-hand side, we have all different YouTube playlists that we're currently doing right now, whether it's our webinars, product videos, customer stories, 3D printing tips, all of that. That's where you can find specific videos for those channels. In general, when you're reposting our social media or a video, all we ask is that you don't rip it and put it on your own channel. You just repost it from our original channel. And this is a problem that we've had internally as well. It's not just a partner thing. We have problems with people in our own company doing it, but ultimately we'll want to link back to our channel. It helps us understand who's looking at our posts and our videos and how we can better engage with them. So if you want to share our stuff, that's great. Please do. Just share in the appropriate avenue that app gives you, whether it's YouTube links or on LinkedIn reposting and stuff like that. Product photography. So we've been really focusing on product photography, specifically in brand creative. We're super excited about it. We feel like we've been doing a really good job. In general, product photography, hopefully we'll just be giving it to you, but if you ever decide to take some product photography of your own, all we ask is that it's impactful and simple. So here we have like a high-res TPU part on a black background. We want the part to speak for itself. Same thing with printers. Printers on a black background or a white background, but it's the only thing in the frame. It's just a simple, clean shot. That's kind of what we're looking for. So feel free to use our product photography, of course, but if you're taking your product photography of your own, just some things to keep in mind. Going back to our old logo, there are definitely some printer photography that's floating around out there with our old logo, and it can kind of be hard to spot. So just look in the bottom right where we'll typically place our logo on printers and make sure that it's the correct one. If you're still using product photography that has the old logo, no worries. We have plenty of product photography with the new logo. So feel free to follow the links that I'll be sharing later on to go and get some new printer photography. So just something to keep in mind there. Stock photography. In terms of brand creative view, we feel like it's a necessary evil. We like to use images of our stuff whenever possible because we want to show that we make awesome products and awesome printers, and we want our photography to reflect that. And stock photography just doesn't always get there in terms of what we're looking for. But obviously, we're never going to have stock or product photography for everything you need. So like for Larson Better Sports, we didn't have images that we had taken ourselves of a race car. So if you're going to be using stock photography, that's totally fine. Just make sure you license it and you're allowed to legally use it. Don't go on Google Images and just rip stock photography off there. It's not a good practice. Just go on Getty, Shutterstock, iStock, whatever you're going to be using, and make sure that you legally license it. just best practice in general. Paid ads. So they don't really deviate rules-wise from anything that I haven't already mentioned. Just make sure that it's on brand colors, great photography. The copy is short, simple, and sweet, all of that good stuff. So, treat it like you would social media or any other advertisement. Just keep it in brand. And so product representation, I know I've talked about this a little bit, so I'm sorry that some of the stuff might be a little bit repetitive, but I promise that it's all important. So just make sure that the printers are not being blocked off or anything like that. They're not being obscured. It's nice, clean photography. We've got plenty of examples on our binder for you guys. But treating it the same that you would anything else, and just really highlighting that printer and showcasing it in all of its glory. Image use. So we really want our imagery to pack a punch. We want it to be impactful. So we typically don't use images as backgrounds when possible. So like the right-hand side is like an older advertisement that we did that we would probably want to shy away from. And the left-hand side is a banner that we've done recently that we feel like does it really well. So the image is the main focus. We've got text around it and our logo, as opposed to using an image in the back and then overlaying it in more images on the front. We just want to make sure that if we're going to be using a photo, it's impactful and people know what it is. So lean more towards the left than to the right. Events. So I'm sure many of you attend trade shows regularly. They're a really great way to see our products in action, and we've got some really cool branding for our trade shows when we go to them. So we've made some renders for you guys. If you ever are bringing our stuff to trade shows and you want to kind of keep it in brand, we have some references for you guys. They'll also be able to download off of Binder and Showpad if you want to take a closer look at them. But this is just some examples in the document for you guys to use. And I'll just run through these slowly. So this is an example of like a small booth build out. If you've got a 10 by 10 space, we've got all different sizes on here. This is an example of a medium booth space, 20 by 20. Larger, this is 30 by 30 and 20 by 20, I think. So there's a variety of sizes here. And then for a premium trade show experience, if you're going to be doing that size, this would be like a very large build out at a trade show. All right, so creative content overview. This is going to be the most important page that I showed to you in this entire document. So this is like the creative content directory. This is where you will find all of the things that I was mentioning previously. So I'll just take some time to talk through this. This is all of the resources that you may need. At the top, we have a link to our Showpad. And that's where you can find information of all of our printers and software, as well as customer success stories and case studies that highlight our technology in action, being used by customers who love it and showing what they've been able to do with it. Following that, we have the Markforged Vault, which is where you'll find all of the stuff that I've been talking about: logos, fonts, icons, product and printer photography, which we're updating regularly, and trade show renders for you guys to download. We even have some fun stuff like printer line art and customer gifts. So please, please, please use this. This is available for you guys. We want you to use it. We've got some really cool stuff in there that we're really proud of. So feel free to use it. You want that cool high-res imagery of the tiny copper print that we did recently? Please go take it. It's for you to use, and if you don't have access to it, please shoot us an email and we'll be happy to provide it for you. And then finally, localized video assets. So if you're selling to customers who are outside the US or they might speak a different language, we have a variety of localized videos that we're super proud of. So feel free to go in and use these. Just make sure that the subtitles are selected so that they can read it in their language. All right, we're towards the end now, the appendix. So ironically, my information is not on here, but there's information for people who will better be able to assist you. So Zachary Trembowitz, he's our creative project manager. He's kind of the guy that you go to if you need help for anything, or if you're working on a project that you might want us to see. He manages all of our stuff. He's awesome. He is very organized. So if you need, if you have a request that you want to submit to Brand Creative, or you need help with something, he's definitely the guy to go to. And then Eli Irving, he is our art director. He's the one who's been overseeing all of this stuff and has really done all of the work on this kind of refresh on our brand. So if you're looking for approval or anything like that, you think like you're not sure, you're posting something like a paid ad and you want us to look over it, he'll be the guy that'll be reviewing it. So this is both of their contact information. Please feel free to reach out to them. We want to be accessible to you guys and help you in all the stuff that you're working on, because ultimately you're a big part of who we are at Markforged, and we want to make sure that we have a great relationship with you guys. We're a fairly new team, and so we just want to make sure that you know we're here and we're here to help you. And I believe that's it. Thank you so much for sitting through this presentation and listening to me as I walk through this Partner Toolkit. If you need help, again, please reach out. I cannot stress that enough. You're vital to us and we want to assist you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. But thank you so much. Do we have any email campaigns? Yes, so that is something that we do pretty routinely. I would say that it's not something that we have specifically outlined in here, but in general, using practices like using the correct typography when applicable, using the correct colors, and then using any product photography. That is kind of what we would ask you to do when doing email campaigns, but we do those pretty regularly. The deck is available on Showpad. I believe it's also in the vault as well, but at the very beginning, I linked it out to the Showpad. Happy to put that in again. But yes, it is available. Please use it. It is for everyone to use. Absolutely. I can definitely do that. My email is my name at markforged.com. And the chat has, or the Showpad link has been linked out, but I will type it as well again for you guys. Please feel free to use it. It is very helpful. And feel free to reach out to us if you can't find it for whatever reason. We do have it on Showpad, and I also believe on Finder. And I think if no one else has any questions, we've ended pretty early, but I hopefully this is helpful for everyone. And thank you so much again for attending.